Welcome to this section focused on Steelers, where I will guide you through the latest updates. Today, there's a wealth of exciting news and rumors surrounding the Steelers that we need to explore. To start, we will discuss 4 NFL draft hopefuls that the Pittsburgh Steelers hosted for interviews earlier today. Afterward, we will examine another quarterback prospect that had drawn the interest of the Steelers but is now off the market. The conversation will conclude with a consideration of the potential for the Steelers to feature again on the HBO series Hard Knocks in the year 2025, particularly with the recent rule changes implemented by the National Football League that could make this scenario possible. As we delve into this segment of Steelers news and speculation, it is important to acknowledge that community involvement plays a crucial role in expanding the audience. Spreading this video across social media can significantly enhance the viewer base. If you want to help achieve the goal of 100 million subscribers by the end of the 2025 NFL season, consider sharing it with others. Interaction with the posts fosters a sense of camaraderie among supporters, and every form of assistance is greatly appreciated. Dedicated fans will make the effort to share, thus enriching the broader conversation surrounding the team. Let's talk about 4 athletes who were at the team's facilities today. The first is a running back from the University of Iowa who caught attention. Next, we have a fast wide receiver from Texas, projected to be a standout first-round pick. Then, there's a cornerback from Florida State University, known for his strong, physical play and impressive highlight reel. Finally, there's a tight end prospect from the University of Pittsburgh who doesn't count against the 30-visit limit for the draft. The cornerback from Florida State stands out as a notable player, while the local athlete from Pittsburgh University, who plays tight end, is not counted among the top 30 visits. Looking at the visits that have taken place so far, it is clear that 2 quarterbacks have visited. 6 running backs have also made visits, suggesting that the team is focusing on this position this year. Additionally, 4 wide receivers have confirmed their visits. On the defensive line, there was a defensive tackle from Ole Miss, another from Iowa, as well as 2 interior defensive players. The cornerback from Florida State is the only one who has visited so far among the top 30. I would like to highlight 2 athletes who attended the team's visit today. The first is the wide receiver from Texas, which is a great point of discussion. It is worth mentioning that only 6 players had a formal meeting combined with a visit among the top 30. 1 quarterback is on that list, along with 4 running backs who also stand out. It is clear that the team is conducting a thorough analysis of this running back class. The only wide receiver so far is the player from Texas, who had a formal meeting, attended a top 30 visit, and was accompanied by the general manager and head coach during his pro day. He is the only athlete so far to meet all 3 criteria, making him an excellent prospect at the wide receiver position. The executive director and head coach of the team were present at the pro day in Austin, Texas. Currently, he is the only athlete who could be selected in the first round, meeting all the required criteria. An undeniable talent at the wide receiver position, he has a strong chance of being the first selected in his category. During the combine in Indianapolis, he ran the 40-yard dash in 4.29 seconds, the fastest among wide receivers. Furthermore, in recorded footage, he stands out as an exceptional route runner, makes impressive catches, and shows excellent ball tracking ability downfield. There is no doubt that he will become a standout player in the league, playing as a true Z wide receiver. If the team decides to draft him, he will be integrated as a deep route threat for that role, while a larger athlete should play the X position. However, if this wide receiver is selected at pick 21, assuming he is available, it would be wise to keep an eye on a potential trade involving another player, possibly during the second day of the NFL draft. The goal would be to secure a 2nd or 3rd round pick. Honestly, if there's an intention to trade this player, it could be related to the acquisition cost for the team that picks him. It is widely known that there were issues with his punctuality, disagreements, and commitment, making him a slightly risky pick, especially since a new team would have to deal with his salary. I consider the team would be lucky to secure a 4th-round pick for him, given the circumstances, and it might end up receiving something around a 5th or 6th-round pick. Personally, I would not accept trading this player for such a low value. Ultimately, I would not opt for a wide receiver in the 1st round. I prefer to keep the available players for the near future. I wouldn't want to part with him, as I don't think the return would justify selecting a receiver in the first round. This prospect is an exceptional player, and I prefer to keep the available athletes. I'm not interested in trading this player, as I don't think the return would be worth justifying the selection of a first-round wide receiver. I believe this prospect is a magnificent player who will undoubtedly bring much joy to the team, and the current team shows considerable interest in him right now. However, if I were making the decision, I would not select a wide receiver in the first round and would keep the mentioned athlete. Now, it's time to evaluate a running back from Iowa. It wouldn't be surprising if the team decided to trade down in the first round, possibly towards the end, and select this running back with that pick. The reason for this is that I believe he fits perfectly with what the coach plans for his main running back. At 6 feet 1 inch and 205 pounds, his build is excellent. His speed on the field is impressive. In videos, he is often seen outrunning defenders, which is particularly pleasant to watch, especially when he makes assertive decisions on which line to take. This player demonstrates exceptional vision and remarkable strength. As a larger running back with good speed, he is very difficult to bring down once he crosses the line of scrimmage. Additionally, his ball security is noteworthy, having not recorded a single fumble last year. This is something the coach values highly, as he emphasizes ball protection. He prefers quarterbacks who don't throw interceptions and running backs who don't fumble, and for good reason, as his goal is to win the turnover battle consistently. This running back is a player who can contribute to achieving that goal. However, some concerns regarding his profile include a certain dependence on the tactical scheme. Fortunately, this works in favor of the team, as the scheme they use, especially the outside zone concepts, is exactly what this player needs to shine at the next level. I believe he represents an excellent option for what the coach aims to achieve. Ilton is comparable to a dart throw, as there's a possibility they offered something similar to what the Cowboys proposed, such as a 5th or 6th round pick. If that were the case, they still might have pursued Aaron Rodgers and would have been interested in signing him. The ideal scenario would be forming a quarterback group with Aaron Rodgers, Mason Rudolph, and Joe Milton as a long-term alternative. It's quite likely they wouldn't have selected a quarterback in the NFL draft, considering Milton could have been considered their pick for the position if they made the trade this year. Even if he wasn't the expected starter, it's easy to understand why the Steelers showed interest in him. Personally, I valued this trade, as he has a powerful arm, is a large athlete, and moves well given his size. He showed notable talent and made significant progress last year with the New England Patriots, especially in areas like mental processing, pocket presence, and accuracy. His development was significant during that period, and now the Dallas Cowboys will rely on him to advance further as their new backup quarterback. They followed a similar strategy last year by trading for Trey Lance, another quarterback with a strong arm and great athletic potential. Joe Milton will assume this position, joining Brian Schottenheimer's offense, which has been facing challenges with Dak Prescott due to recent injuries. There are signs that Milton wanted to join the Cowboys, and reports suggest that the Patriots accepted a less advantageous deal to accommodate him. Although there was a more attractive offer from another team, Milton chose to play for the Cowboys, receiving strong family support for the franchise. For him, this represents a dream come true, and while I wish him all the best in Dallas, it would have been interesting to see him in Pittsburgh as a long-term quarterback development project. However, I understand that this situation shows the Pittsburgh Steelers' willingness to trade a third-day draft pick for Milton, demonstrating clear interest in bolstering their quarterback options. While wishing him the best in Dallas, I certainly would have preferred to see him in Pittsburgh as a long-term quarterback development project. This speaks volumes about the Pittsburgh Steelers' mindset. Their willingness to trade a third-day draft pick for Milton suggests they might do the same for another player they see considerable potential in. This could include someone who stands out physically, with a strong arm and high theoretical potential, all of which could be acquired for a third-day draft pick in trade. Two names that come to mind are Will Levis and Malik Willis. Both were selected in the second day of the draft, and each has had some playing time in the National Football League. Willis, for example, had a reasonably good performance with the Green Bay Packers last season, while Levis struggled as the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans behind one of the least efficient offensive lines in the NFL. I find Will Levis particularly intriguing, especially if the price is right, since he's still under his rookie contract, which makes him financially viable. His status as a non-first-round pick makes his contract even more affordable. Furthermore, his throwing style resembles Aaron Rodgers, making him an intriguing option if Rodgers were signed, as he could benefit from his mentorship. Levis could start as a third-string quarterback, but with Aaron Rodgers' mentorship, he could develop into a franchise quarterback. He has good size, is athletic, and has an impressive arm, though he needs to improve his accuracy, mental processing, and pocket presence. I would be willing to part with a sixth-round pick to acquire him. After all, what quarterback available in the sixth round would offer as much potential as Will Levis? It's hard to imagine that happening, and when reflecting on the value of a sixth-round pick, I'm not convinced any player picked in that round could contribute as much as Levis. Moreover, the Steelers traded their sixth-round pick last year for a developing player, Justin Fields, and I believe they would be willing to explore similar opportunities. Given the value of a sixth-round pick, it's uncertain whether any player selected at that stage could present as much potential as Will Levis. Additionally, the team had already traded its sixth-round pick last year for a developing player, specifically Justin Fields, and it seems reasonable that they would consider a similar strategy again, especially if they believe Levis could develop well under the guidance of a veteran. What are your thoughts? Share your opinions in the comments. If the trade meant giving up a sixth-round pick, would you accept acquiring Will Levis as a developing quarterback for the team? Express your stance with an A to accept or a D to reject. I'm curious to hear your thoughts in the comments. The next topic to be discussed concerns a change made by HBO and the league in the rules for participation in the preseason show, now affecting which teams can choose to opt out. The significant change here is that the exemption for teams that made the playoffs has been eliminated. Previously, if a team made the playoffs in any of the last two seasons, they could refuse to participate in the show. However, this exemption no longer exists, allowing teams that made the playoffs to be eligible for the preseason edition of the show. The new conditions that allow a team to opt out include: first, having a head coach in their first year; second, being the focus of the show's season version, which will include divisional matchups, similar to last year's edition; and lastly, having been featured in the preseason version of the show in the last 8 years, since 2017. Since the team does not meet any of these conditions, they may be called upon to participate this year if the league and HBO decide to feature them. One coach was a central figure in the previous edition, while another player was the focus when the show spotlighted a team a few years ago. It is possible the team could be featured on the show this year, depending on the decision of the league and HBO. Last year, the coach was the star, while a player was the main attraction when the show focused on a team in the past. If this player decides to join the team, it's very likely that HBO will want to cover them. With the coach's strong personality and the narrative of the player's career revival attempt, the stories surrounding the team are incredibly captivating. However, this depends on the player's decision to move to the city. If this happens, I believe the chances of HBO selecting the team for their training coverage this year are significant. Therefore, I'd love to hear your opinions in the comment section. Would you be interested in seeing the team featured by the show for a second consecutive year during the preseason? Would you like the show to take place in Latrobe? Respond yes or no in the comments. As a fan, part of me desires this behind-the-scenes view of training and all the exciting aspects, but there are also concerns about potential distractions that could arise. So, I have mixed feelings about this situation. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The Pittsburgh Steelers are making headlines with their aggressive pursuit of Detroit Lions quarterback Jared Goff, signaling a potential seismic shift in the NFL quarterback landscape. Despite Goff's recent success in Detroit, leading the franchise to historic milestones, the Steelers are reportedly determined to lure him to Pittsburgh. With veteran quarterback uncertainty looming in the Steel City, The franchise sees Goff as the missing piece to reignite their championship ambitions. Could this be the blockbuster move that redefines the Steelers' future? Goff's resurgence in Detroit has been nothing short of remarkable. After a turbulent departure from the Los Angeles Rams, the quarterback reinvented himself, guiding the Lions to their first playoff victory since 1991. His stellar performances in 2023, including an NFC Championship game appearance and record-breaking efficiency, solidified him as one of the league's elite passers. However, the Steelers' keen interest raises questions about whether Detroit is willing to part ways with their franchise quarterback, especially after signing him to a massive 4-year, $212 million extension. For Pittsburgh, the pursuit of Goff represents an urgent effort to upgrade at the most critical position. Despite their storied history, the Steelers have struggled to find a long-term solution at quarterback since Ben Roethlisberger's retirement. The team's defense remains formidable, but an inconsistent offense has held them back from true contention. With a proven leader like Goff under center, Pittsburgh believes they could re-establish themselves as serious Super Bowl contenders in the AFC. Yet, acquiring Goff would come at a steep price. Given his contract and Detroit's commitment to him, the Steelers would likely need to offer a significant trade package, potentially including multiple first-round picks. The Lions, currently poised for sustained success, may be reluctant to disrupt their momentum. However, the NFL is a league of surprises, and if Pittsburgh presents an offer too enticing to refuse, Detroit's front office might have a difficult decision to make. As speculation intensifies, the Steelers' pursuit of Goff is set to dominate headlines in the coming weeks. Will Pittsburgh pull off a blockbuster trade that reshapes their franchise? Or will the Lions stand firm in their commitment to their star quarterback? One thing is certain. This developing saga has the potential to shake up the NFL landscape in ways few could have predicted. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.